Adara and Chineja seemed like the perfect match. Their love story was one that many admired, often seen as an example of true partnership. For 3 years, they navigated life together, overcoming challenges and building a strong foundation of love and respect. Coming from well-regarded families in Lagos, they both had promising careers that complemented each other. Adara, with her elegance and kindness, was the ideal partner for Chineja, who was known for his ambition and charm. Their bond was solidified by shared dreams, and those around them often commented on how fortunate they were to have found each other. Friends and family believed that they were destined for a future filled with happiness, as they seemed to have it all. But behind the surface, there were cracks that no one noticed. Small things that, left unchecked, would eventually become significant issues threatening their perfect image. The day of the white wedding had arrived. It was everything they had dreamed of, a grand celebration in a stunning church, with loved ones gathered to witness their union. Adara and Chineja had carefully planned every detail to reflect their love story. The church was adorned with elegant flowers, and the guests arrived dressed in vibrant, coordinated aso-ebi outfits, eager to celebrate the couple's love. The atmosphere was electric, with an air of anticipation as everyone awaited the moment when Adara and Chineja would say their vows. Adara looked breathtaking in her white gown, walking gracefully down the aisle to meet Chineja at the altar. As they stood side by side, listening to the pastor begin the ceremony, the future seemed bright. But as the solemn vows were spoken, the sense of certainty that had brought them to this day started to shift, especially within Adara. As the vows began, Adara found herself overwhelmed by unexpected emotions. Her heart, once steady with certainty, began to race. A nagging doubt crept into her mind, something she had not anticipated on this day that was supposed to be the happiest of her life. She listened to Chineja as he repeated the pastor's words, promising faithfulness, truthfulness, and a lifetime of love. But instead of feeling reassured, memories of a conversation they had months ago resurfaced. It was one she had tried to forget, a conversation that had left her with unease. Chineja had asked for her trust, specifically in matters he claimed were personal. She had agreed back then, believing in their love. But now, as he made public promises that contrasted with his secretive nature, she couldn't ignore the discomfort that was growing within her, casting a shadow over this moment. Chineja's request for privacy had always lingered in the back of Adara's mind. While she had never doubted his love for her, there was a part of him that remained distant, locked away behind walls she couldn't penetrate. He had always been affectionate, showering her with care and attention, but there were parts of his life he kept hidden. Whenever she tried to get closer to those hidden aspects, he would gently remind her of his need for space, asking her to trust him without questioning too much. And she did. For a while, that was enough. But standing at the altar, listening to him vow to be truthful and open, she realized the contradiction. How could she promise her full commitment when he had asked her to be content with half-truths? It was a weight she had carried silently, but now, at the moment of truth, it felt impossible to ignore. When it was Adara's turn to speak, she hesitated. All eyes were on her, waiting for her response. She looked into Chineja's eyes, hoping to find the comfort and assurance she needed to go through with the vows. But instead, she saw the same guarded expression he had always worn, the same walls she could never fully breach. A wave of uncertainty washed over her, and the words she had rehearsed 1,000 times suddenly felt heavy on her tongue. The church, once filled with chatter and excitement, had fallen into an uneasy silence as the pause stretched on. Adara felt the pressure mounting, her heart pounding in her chest. Finally, she found her voice, though it was barely audible. "I cannot do this," she whispered, her hands trembling. The words echoed through the silent room, leaving everyone in shock, including Chineja. As the weight of her words settled in, Adara's voice grew stronger, fueled by the realization that she could no longer suppress the truth. "I cannot make these vows when there are secrets between us," she declared, her gaze steady on Chineja. The gasps from the congregation seemed distant as she continued, her emotions finally spilling out. "How can we promise to be truthful and faithful when you've asked me to accept things you won't even share with me?" Adara's voice, though calm, carried the pain and uncertainty she had been hiding for so long. She had loved UCHE deeply, but standing at the altar, she knew that love alone couldn't sustain a marriage built on half-truths and hidden corners. UCHE's face darkened, a mix of frustration and embarrassment, as he whispered harshly, "Adara, this is not the time." But she remained resolute, knowing that this was the only time she could speak her truth. Adara's resolve deepened as she continued speaking, her voice now firm and unwavering. "No, UCHE, if we can't be open with each other now, what hope do we have for the future? This isn't just about the wedding, it's about the marriage we're about to begin." She could see the tension in UCHE's expression as he tried to remain composed, but the truth was undeniable. Adara had reached a breaking point, and she could no longer ignore the doubts that had been simmering beneath the surface. "I need to know that we are building our lives on honesty, not secrets," she added, her eyes pleading for understanding. The weight of her words hung in the air, leaving UCHE speechless. He had never imagined that things would unfold this way, and now, in front of everyone, their perfect day was unraveling. The church was filled with an intense silence as UCHE grappled with the reality of the situation. He had always believed that his love for Adara would be enough to keep them together, even with the parts of his life he kept hidden. But now, as she stood before him, refusing to move forward with their wedding, he realized that love alone wasn't enough. He had always assumed that Adara would accept his need for privacy, that she would trust him without question. But standing here now, he saw that his secrets had created a barrier between them that couldn't be ignored. He wanted to reassure her, to tell her that they could work through it after the wedding, but deep down, he knew that she was right. The foundation of their relationship was shaky, and if they couldn't face the truth now, their marriage would be built on uncertainty. Adara turned to the pastor, her decision made. "I'm sorry, I can't do this," she said quietly, her voice filled with finality. With those words, she took a step back, away from the altar, and began to walk down the aisle. The soft rustling of her gown against the floor was the only sound in the stunned church as guests parted to let her pass. Her parents, seated near the front, remained frozen in disbelief, unable to comprehend what had just happened. UCHE's mother, seated beside them, covered her face in embarrassment, unwilling to meet the gazes of those around her. As Adara reached the doors of the church, she felt a wave of emotion wash over her. It had taken every ounce of strength she had to walk away from the man she loved, but she knew it was the right decision. She couldn't build a future on lies. Once outside the church, Adara felt the cool air hit her face, mingling with the tears streaming down her cheeks. She had just walked away from the life she had envisioned for herself, the future she had been planning for years. The weight of her decision pressed down on her, but alongside the sorrow was a sense of relief. For the first time in months, she felt free, unburdened by the secrets that had been haunting her. Calling off the wedding had been the hardest thing she had ever done, but deep down, she knew it was the only way forward. As she walked away from the church, each step felt lighter, as if she was shedding the expectations and pressures that had been suffocating her. The road ahead would not be easy, but Adara knew that she had chosen peace over pretense, and that was something she could live with. News of Adara's decision spread quickly, becoming the topic of conversation among their friends and family. Some called her brave, admiring her strength for standing up for what she believed in, even at such a pivotal moment. Others whispered that she had made a terrible mistake, that she had thrown away a good man and a promising future over something that could have been resolved in time. But Adara remained firm in her conviction. She knew that trust was the foundation of any lasting relationship, and without it, their marriage would have been doomed from the start. As difficult as it was to walk away from UCHE, she couldn't ignore the warning signs. She understood that secrets had no place in a union meant to be built on openness and love. Though the path ahead was uncertain, Adara was confident that she had made the right choice for her future. In the months that followed, both Adara and UCHE had time to reflect on their choices and the events that had led them to that fateful day. Adara focused on healing, rediscovering herself, and understanding what she truly wanted in a partner and in life. The pain of walking away from the love she had nurtured for 3 years lingered, but each day brought her closer to peace. She learned that sometimes, choosing herself meant letting go of what she thought she wanted. Through therapy and the support of friends and family, Adara began to rebuild her life, one that wasn't defined by a relationship but by her own sense of self-worth and honesty. Chi Neja, on the other hand, had to come to terms with the fact that he had been asking for more than Adara should have been willing to give. The secrecy he had maintained throughout their relationship was a shield, protecting him from vulnerabilities he wasn't ready to face. But losing Adara made him realize that in keeping parts of his life hidden, he had also kept her at a distance. He began to unravel his own fears and insecurities, seeking help to address the issues that had driven a wedge between them. Though it was painful, Chi Neja understood that this was a necessary part of his growth.